Welcome back. It's time for our last game of the day, Crumbs. IMT going to be taking on CLG, who are looking somewhat revived, let's say, with Pobelter being back in the mix for the squad.
Yeah, Pobelter is back, and they got to win. They actually have to win. We got all these statistics for you for Pobelter, but if you've been with CLG for this while, you know none of this makes any sense. CLG as a team doesn't really fit any mold. They still have 100% first bloods, and only last week were they actually able to win a game with one of those, which is just bizarre. But now, maybe the confidence that they have been getting from Finn's whole performances of more than 3 days of practice, like Broxa had been saying, can actually get this team ramped up because, yeah, statistically they're not out, but IMT is a way bigger shot of making it to playoffs. They have 5 wins.
Yep, as you see, Broxa here kind of just explaining the situation. And turns out, like you mentioned, not a whole lot of time to gel together with teammates shuffling around. And it's tough, right? Like Broxa himself had to go through, a long wait to get his visa, and then he finally arrives, and then he's adjusting to teammates that maybe he wouldn't expect to play at the start of the season, and then all of a sudden he's got a new mid laner again. Like, it's tough. CLG have had a lot of moving parts. Both, from decisions they wanted to make as a team, and also just from things outside of their control, with players not being able to arrive and play when they would like to. So we'll see how they do here up against IMT, who are, again, a team with 5 wins, maybe more than people would expect coming into the season. Certainly have had high highs and low lows. IMT are a team that I just love tracking game over game because you just never know what you're going to get, which I guess is maybe kind of the same thing with CLG, which could mean we are going to have a very fun game on our hands, depending on which of these teams decides to show up today.
That's right. I also see the similarities between these two teams. It's just that one has actually landed on heads way more on their coin flips. IMT have actually taken some wins off of like Team Liquid, who we just saw almost had a perfect game. So they have had, I think, a better showing, but still that element of randomness still kind of plaguing these teams. And they're all trying to make sure that they can be much more consistent. I think your consistency begins with the draft, being able to execute champions that are way easier. So the point and click crowd controls of champions like Skarner are just so easy to play around versus things like the Lilias or the Nidalees. So I want to see lower execution for both of these teams, and I think we're going to have a more explosive game that way because you can be way more proactive when you don't have to worry about if your skill shot hits.
All right, well, so let's have a look at the blue side bans because they're usually the interesting ones. Thresh and Aurelia banned away there for IMT. Seraphine, Udi there from CLG kind of sticking a more tried and true stuff here. That's typically how things go. Red Dead has to ban away the stuff that's actually good, and blue kind of gets to pick and choose some target bans here, taking away some picks.
I think first pick Gnar here. I don't know why else he would ban Aurelia here. When you see how Finn has been playing the Gnar so well, you're banning it on the blue side. I think Revenge wants to take this pick. We'll see, though. I mean, otherwise... yeah, I'm not going to try anymore. Not trying.
Different Yodel. Very different. Tristana going to be the draft there for IMT. Is a pretty good pick, though. We've seen, I think it's like excellent in mid lane. I think it is perfectly good in bot lane, although perhaps a little bit harder to get going. The response, though, is going to be Kalista here for Wild Turtle, which is an interesting one because back in the day, Crumbs, if you'll recall, Tristana was actually a Kalista counter pick long time ago now. So if there is going to be bottom lane there for Race, who has already played it, actually looking pretty good alongside Destiny, at least in the early game of that game. The rest of the game, not so much. But certainly could be something they can maybe look to exploit in the 2v2, although again, maybe that matchup has shifted quite a lot since the last time I remember seeing it. Well, they're going to be locked in there for Broxa, who is fast becoming the best jungler left in the pool, Crumbs, most importantly. With all these powerful junglers being banned away, like Udyr and Olaf in so many games, it does feel like Lilia is the go-to choice for many LCS junglers right now.
The AP value that you can bring from the mid lane, from the jungle, as well as just good, reliable crowd control is just so useful from this pick. And I want to see CLG pair this Lilia with lanes that are pushing. We already saw what Centurion was able to do. So unfortunately for Broxa, the bar has been set incredibly high for what the Lilia can do in the early game. So I need to see how he stacks up against Centurion's early game. So CLG will probably round out their draft with another engaged support comboing with the Kalista there, but already the Alistar is a pretty good pickup. I thought that's what they wanted here, but you don't even have to Thresh anymore as an option to pair with her. So really curious to see what Smoothie will go for here.
Yeah, Rob Band as well is something he's also been quite good on. Hecarim, the pick up there for Xerxes though. So has also played a lot of Lilia. Obviously can't do that this game, so going to play Hecarim here instead. CLG here running down the clock here. 2 seconds left for their last pick of this phase is going to be Lucian. So I feel like this is maybe something we'll start seeing in more and more drafts, because Team Liquid actually just did the same thing, where when you see Tristana, you assume it's mid and you counterpick Lucian. And then maybe now IMT are forced to swap it down the bottom lane. That could have been their plan regardless, but it is interesting to see 2 different games in a row now. Teams pick Trist early and then Lucian be the early response here.
This reminds me of the comp that G2 played earlier. It was a little bit different. You had the Nidalee, the Jhin, with the Lucian in the mid lane that has a little bit more synergy, but the idea is that you actually want to round out these 3 champions with a lot of beefy front lines, a lot of hard CC, and so here, I think if Immortals starts banning away these tanky supports, it's going to be a lot harder for CLG to make sure that this composition can get the fights that they want. So I want to see if IMT recognizes that this could be a way to actually weaken CLG's composition and make it much harder for Lucian and Kalista to actually deal damage. So Kled will be denied against Finn, but still curious to see if bans get dropped in the support role. We've seen how important last picking support can be when you see the entire composition. The support understands where they can move, where they can influence the map, and right now the meta is all about the support in the jungle grouping up and ruining every laner's day.
Yeah, I'm with you there on supports for sure. Obviously, Rel can't be taken. Alistar also can't be taken, so maybe something like Nautilus on the table there for Smoothie. Leona we've seen earlier in the year, but still certainly something you could play as well. Also, Victor being banned from Insanity. He has been good on a variety of champions here, but again, leaving open the door that Raze might be playing the Trist here, which almost says to me that maybe they just want Lucian because it's good. If they're already banning away mid laners here, although also insulating a Lucian mid pick that you've already taken early. Nautilus is the pick there, so Smoothie's going to take that as support. And banning Kled and Gnar kind of screams like, I want to play Renekton to me, so maybe Revenge wants to play Renekton today.
You banned 3 top lane picks, so you better pick something blind that you're comfortable with, and we get to see where Finn lands on his pool, though. I think Finn will totally be fine here, though. There's actually still plenty of top lane champions available that are just great. You've got Camille, you've got the likes of champions like Shen that we saw earlier, almost got a win on the side of TSM, Malphite, Karma. There's still a lot that the top lane can go for, so I don't think that this really is going to affect the map. That's why I think banning out the support that has a much smaller champion pool for the things that CLG wanted could have been better, right? Nautilus and Leona ban, where do you go now? So we'll see, though, if IMT has a game plan for playing around Revenge. They've done it before, and now I worry that he'll just blind something silly like a Gragas and make sure that no action happens in the top lane. But it's Renekton, like you called it.
It's gonna be Renekton. I mean, like, if you ban Kled in phase 2, you're just like screaming, I want to pick Renekton, which was maybe a consideration for CLG there as well, right? They could have also just taken Renekton there if you wanted to play it blind, and then basically like, hey, Revenge, what kind of picks do you have left after banning away the champions that maybe I wanted to play against Renekton here? But instead, they'll give Finn counterpick. There are tanks, as you mentioned, Malphite on the table, Ornn maybe on the table, Sion also. I completely forgot, seen it today already. But certainly a champion that seems to be rising up the tier list, especially if you do want a frontliner there in the top lane. So it is going to be Sion there for Finn in the top lane.
Yeah, so exactly right. You get the 2 beefy tanks to make sure that the damage dealers can work, and I got to see CLG, how do they operate with these squishy long-range ADs in the mid lane? Because Pobelter in particular didn't have the best return into the LCS. It's slowly getting better, but here with the Lucian, you are expected to be very dominant, not just in the lane, but playing team fights really well. So if his Lucian is up to par, we can justify the pick. Otherwise, we're going to be scratching our heads and wondering why we didn't go with a control mage and something easier.
Yeah, curious to see how this shakes out here, because IMT kind of have a cool mix of everything in a lot of ways, but I think feeling pretty stable on these champions. These are definitely comfort picks for these players here, but I think we could probably say the same thing about CLG. So we'll see what happens here. POB on the Lucian this time around is a pretty big departure from the control mages we're used to seeing, but certainly something that, again, may just be rising up in the meta once again, and certainly something he can play. So curious to see how it all shakes out, especially in that bottom lane, because Total was so eager to pick Kalista, and Raze and Destiny have been almost the best illustration of the IMT hot and cold nature. Crumbs has given us an O.
Yeah, let me divert your attention to some summoner spells. I don't think I have ever seen this. Double Exhaust, Wild Turtle and Smoothie. So very defensive, looking to peel and kite back in these team fights, but that shouldn't be a big deal to IMT's laning phase. With the heal and the ignite, I think they're going to have a grand old time here. It's just going to be about team fighting here for CLG, because otherwise this seems redundant.
Yeah, perhaps my ancient matchup knowledge has paid off, and that like Turtle and Smoothie know that like this isn't a good matchup necessarily. Also, like you've got the likes of Hecarim and Renekton wanting to dive you later on, so just having a bonus exhaust can be good. We'll see how it plays out. Exhaust also pretty good against Kalista, but Destiny definitely opting for the ignite here for lots more early pressure. That has been, I think, one of the cool things to watch about this bottom lane, and Destiny just as a player, that when it hits real nice for Destiny. I feel like he's certainly the kind of player that wants to play aggressive. He's had a lot of good moments. He's also had just some quiet games, which again is kind of the story of IMT as a whole. But being good enough here for a decent amount of wins, as IMT are going to have Xerxes start off on the Raptors with no help. It's going to be a little late to bottom lane here for Raze and Destiny, but shouldn't be particularly troublesome.
And they had everybody waiting in that brush, because so many games, if you remember in Worlds, that Lilia would just be invading with the rest of the team, fighting for the Raptor camp. Hecarim can just start that route, and so it makes it a lot harder for Lilia to go for it. And look at that. Broxah already taking notes, going for the blue buff invade against the Hecarim. I wonder if IMT knows what's going on, because it'll be really good for CLG if they actually get away with this, and if IMT has the Hecarim path to the blues, that he would just waste all his time. Gotta see where Xerxes' path is. Do you suspect that you are being invaded, my friend?
That's really interesting. But yeah, Brock's just walking in and taking everything. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on Xerxes as he's full clearing his red side to start things off. Also, Revenge and Finn are currently fighting here on the top side. Revenge with the giant shield, actually. Finn there looking to push the lane in with that corrupting potion and maybe try and get some stuff done early. Broxah does successfully take the blue, and Xerxes is walking the wrong way, Crumbs.
Get spotted. All right, but at least he has his Constellation Grump. But now I got to see where Broxah's path is, because he can do his red side and then path back towards the bot side and then go back to the Raptors again. It's just such a nuisance to deal with this champion, because she's so difficult to pick. And if you saw what CLG's mid and bottom did to prevent Hecarim from invading, they went up, they pushed the waves, and warded. They got the ward in the bottom try and the ward in the pixel brush at river. So they're all about setting up Broxah. I'm loving this early game thus far. One of the strengths from CLG, but I worry now, Pastry, because the win they got was when they lost the early game. It was a brutal early game deficit. Now they're back to the winning ways, and we worry if this is just too much of an advantage for them. They need to be at a deficit to know how to win.
I mean, they've still got every first blood in all their games, right? So, you know, they're used to getting at least some early game leads. You know, maybe this is just enough. It doesn't have to be too wild from here on out, as Brox is going to full clear the rest of his red side. That does give Xerxes room to take the Scuttle Crab, which is nice, and doesn't have a whole lot else to do. Ooh, this is so clever from Broxah. He's waiting on the respawn and now going to get in onto Xerxes. In fact, maybe was just waiting for the camp to take it instead, because now Insanity is actually roaming up here. I'm going to try and challenge for the camp. Xerxes doing a little bit of counter jungling of his own. Will successfully take the Raptors, but here's POB and Insanity facing off, but not a whole lot they can really do. So Broxah going to walk over and just maybe take the crab into his own blue buff and complete a very delayed 3 buff on Xerxes.
I love to see the laners doing so much for their junglers. It's been so long since we had to play for the lanes. Now the lanes play for you. They help you invade camps whenever you call them. They help for the Scuttle Crab. And unfortunately, though, Pobelcher can't shove quickly enough against Insanity, so he'll just stabilize the matchup now. I think Xerxes is totally fine now. He's already going for the second spawn of Raptors. It's going to be the second clear of Raptors. Remember, he got the second spawn of CLG side and now his own with the Krugs as well, while Brox is still clearing the first rotation of his blue side camp. So despite Brox being somewhat assertive in the early game, I think IMT recovered very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, Brox is, like, again, gonna take it. Like, his third big buff of the game, and the farm is still gonna be pretty close between the two junglers. So Xerxes here with a good recovery. Top side here is Revenge and Finn still duking it out. Big silent charge up there. Nice damage. Revenge is currently up a level, but that's not gonna last too long, I have to imagine. Is also up 10 CS, which is more significant, but I think that one will equalize pretty naturally, as Finn has actually already taken a base. Pre-ulti, no TP used. Gotten some extra cloth armors, so looks like both these top laners did take an earlier recall here, trying to keep up earlier in the lane. As Smoothie and Turtle doing a nice job here, 2v2. Despite the double exhaust and what at least I thought was going to be a better 2v2 earlier for Raze and Destiny. Not looking the way right now, although I think the farm is going to be pretty much equal, only behind a wave now as they take this recall, and Wild Total's already on out of there. So we'll call it even, and the gold reflects that here as well. CLG not looking to get too spicy early. You know, Crumbs maybe taking your advice. Not wanting to get the early game too charged up and lose sight of the mid to late game where things have fallen apart so many times this season for CLG.
We've only seen them ahead or behind. Now they're going to try to go into the mid-game even. So we see Destiny, though, in the mid lane. I think this is totally fine. The advantage that CLG got, though, was the teleport in the mid lane. Pobelter did not burn his, although Lucian's TP isn't particularly an impressive ability for helping out lanes and going for dives, but it'll still be relevant for anything that happens, especially for, say, responding to a gank that IMT goes for. So you commit for a dive, burn everything, then the Lucian can find his teleport. So it does help to protect the lanes, and he's rushed Merc Treads too, which really puts him in a very comfortable position to know that you're not probably going to get killed by Insanity, or even if Xerxes joins, you can just flash out of the crowd control.
Actually, the nice thing that POB's done here is just stayed on the map, right? Like, Brox is starting his dragon, so POB's already there to rotate over. He's pushed the wave in, and like doesn't have to worry about not getting a good wave reset later because he can reset at any time with the TP. His Revenge is just bodying Finn in that 1v1. Just turns on the ulti, puts all the damage down, and Finn actually may be in danger of getting dove. Your Revenge is going to go for it here, but the ultimate Sion is nice. Revenge going to get baited in and killed. It's first blood for CLG once again.
No, you got baited. Oh, I guess he thought he didn't have enough mana. He was base, and you could just let him base. You could do so much here. Oh, man. Just Finn saw, he's like, all right, I can bait this guy in. I got my ultimate, and he fell for it. He really fell for it. You hate to see it. All that CS, all for nothing.
Well, TP back for Finn here as well, so it doesn't lose anything really on the lane. As mid lane, POB is still fighting Insanity, has held on to that TP as well. So we'll see what UC makes of it, but feeling just fine here in the lane. If he's not committing that any early, as Smoothie and Turtle are biding their time in the bush for Raze and Destiny to perhaps walk up a little too close. I don't think they're going to be doing anything silly. Smoothie and Total are actually just happy with their 10 CS lead. And
all Raze
hard
has
to kill
to
it
do is just make sure that there's no angle for a hook.
Oh, what a nice one there for Smoothie. Raze going to get exhausted, but no follow-up there. Does get the jump out in time and preserves both summoner spells. Very important for the Tryst.
Oh, you gotta walk with them creeps. You gotta make sure that the creeps are always blocking you. And CLG found the angle. I like that Smoothie pulled the trigger right away. There was this tiny window where he could have gone for it, and that actually buys them more pressure in the lane, so they can now continue to ward up and move about. And you see just how much vision they have in the river. Any gank that Xerxes wants to pull off will have to come from him speeding through Tri or through the lane. So Destiny flashing forward, comboing into someone and pulling them in feels like really the only way they can do this. Now, Kalista has Fate's Call, so the likelihood that you actually catch them out is so low, and this bottom lane continues to do so much. And we haven't seen them exactly how they're getting these advantages, but it's turning up into a 10 CS lead, and it lets the jungle do whatever he wants. Brox has been doing a fine job here, securing the early dragon and now the Rift Herald, but this one will be fought for. Watch out for the crocodile!
Revenge over the top! Dashes in, flash for Brox is very nice. Does want to keep safe, as Smoothie's actually already roamed up. This is a really nice timing for him, but also Destiny's on the roam, so level 6s for both supports here is going to mean there could be action, but instead it's CLG just going to claim the Herald for themselves as IMT will back away from contesting it.
And we see how the CLG pressure into the bottom lane allows the support to come in first and protect their jungler to secure the objective. This is a really nice move from CLG, transitioning one place that has an advantage to the other side of the map to continue to build advantages. So they know how to play the early game for sure, but now we have to see how they actually are able to now take this Rift Herald and apply it to the rest of the map, because the lanes have switched somewhat. Pobelter is now on the top side, and the Renekton, or pardon, the Sion is in the bottom lane. So as a result of the swap, Pobelter gets some extra gold on plates.
Yeah, really nice actually. POB just going to farm a little bit of extra cash. Probably going to push this wave in as well. Yeah, should have more than enough time here to take it all down. So Ray's going to be the one to catch it actually here in top side. In fact, we're going to have a semi-permanent swap here as Pobelter's going in for more. Going to get this plate as well here. And there's only one, like it's just Raze. He doesn't know that, but going to get the plate before it even really matters. And that's a huge amount of value given to your mid laner.
It really
I wish
is.
my team would do that for me.
Well, if you won a LCS title, I think they would have considered it. I don't get any of that help either, so we're in the same boat here, Pastry.
It's just funny because you're talking about how you know, it's so different now that now mid lane serves jungle, which was not the paradigm for so long in League of Legends. And I just remember, yeah, I remember when my jungler ganked my lane, but not a thing anymore. So Pibelta getting the royal treatment, getting some plays soon. In fact, he's sticking up here. He's the bot laner now.
And he's by himself, but there's a lot of people here in the river. Raze isn't here farming, though. He'll have to go back to the lane, so he can't stick around for too long. Not sure what CLG hopes to attempt here, though. There isn't anything to contest for except the fact that IMT is here, and the dragon is spawning in 30 seconds. I'd like to see them actually move down towards that side of the map and start stacking these dragons. You've already seen how important just keeping that pace up is for pressuring teams that are struggling to make a play. And IMT right now, constantly being pushed in, is in that position. So CLG, let's see that early dragon and not have it just linger around for too long.
Finished 2 levels ahead of Revenge. 2! That is a lot for a Silent versus Renekton. That is actually going to be a full commitment to the top side with the Herald here in top lane.
All right, so they're just going to go for plate gold. They want to get ahead when it comes to the gold. They don't care about the dragon right now. Just keep getting these advantages. And that advantage, though, in the bot side, which was the top before, was just Revenge. They're going up for
Destiny's in.
Treads.
Rebelta's fine. Where's Sion? Oh, mid lane. Insanity. Oh, he's going to get killed by Wild Turtle. What a dive there from Finn. Rotating in, flashes forward, and manages to give Turtle a kill under the mid lane outer. Pibelta gets away, so CLG winning across the map there on that one.
Winning lanes, winning jungle matchup. They have just been crushing this early, and IMT does not know how to find their way back into this game. It's not through Renekton against Sion, I'll tell you that. The Sion is a great pick into this high physical damage composition, especially when you're dealing with a mid laner that isn't DPS. She's burst, so with the high HP that Sion's passive gives him, he won't even need to itemize magic resistance until very late into the game, if at all. He'll be able to just survive most of IMT, and that allows him to not only be really aggressive against the Renekton, knowing that the Hecarim gank is so unlikely to come by, but also be an incredibly aggressive frontliner roaming around like we just saw getting a kill against Insanity, who now without Flash is in real danger. There is a Kalista with Ultimate and the Nautilus that are just roaming around very close. They'll want to take down Syndra whenever they see her.
And suddenly, Pibelta is just up in Revenge's face once again, applying pressure. Despite the steel caps being done for Renekton, Pibelta feeling more than confident enough in that 1v1. Despite not having a completed item yet, it looks like Gale Force is going to be the selection here. Kick it off, Xerxes though, much more of a threat here. But 2v2 is going to break up. Broxo is here ready to go, but the IMT has already gone in. Revenge going to get that kill off the ulti out of Hecarim. And now Broxo looking low, but does put a few to sleep. Now going to get the re-kill there. A Smoothie grabs her and Renekton, but Xerxes trying to kite around there. A Smoothie does get Revenge. Turtle is going to take down Xerxes. And now the Fate's Call in for Raze is not quite going to connect, but Destiny slowed down by the renders. Finn surely going to get in there. No, he's not, but the wave is coming in. And CLG just going to back out and take the dragon instead.
It's 2 for 1 on the side of CLG, and they get to push out the waves. It's only topside that's actually losing something, and Insanity with the teleport just had nowhere to go on this. And you're not going to TP into the turret to try to make it to this silly fight. They catch Pobelter out, but they lose so much for it. Not sure what Pobelter is doing, walking into this side. Really, you are taking the dragon here, and you don't have any pressure, so he gives IMT an opportunity to go for this. He would have liked to see it turn into a fight over the dragon and not so much about getting caught, but because CLG just had so many members and there wasn't any good wards for the Syndra to TP immediately, they come out with a numbers advantage and win the fight.
Getting a flash out of Raze at the end as well. Wonder if maybe the Fate's Call is better served used on Destiny, but I actually just like getting Triss flash there. Can make your next engagement that much easier. Cannon Wave also is doing the work here for Finn, who's going to take a recall back. And apparently CLG just like don't need the dragon right now. Figure they've got enough control, they can take it at their leisure. No one is rushing off to collect the Cloud Drake crumbs. It's a very sad day.
Yeah, okay, they should have definitely taken that objective. We got to see though, because it always struggles without the pro view to know exactly what happened. When the replay comes up, you're like, all right, what happened with the objective? Kalista was remaining there, but now she has a shield bow. They definitely should be fighting around this. Don't want to see this objective linger any longer, because you're going to look at the late game and wonder why IMT does not feel pressure to base check you or feel like they're on the clock. Well, it's because the Dragons were not stacked this early. Broxah will do blue side and go for it now, I believe. So finally, we get to see this objective being taken. Since Pobelter also has TP, they'll be ready for a 5-man if IMT wants to contest.
Yeah, just reset instead. I actually like this from CLG. To spend their money, play a little bit safer, know that you've got enough control here. I mean, Finn is like perma pushing this Renekton in, still 2 levels ahead, by the way, despite being slightly down in CS on the Scion side. And just like Revenge can't do anything, Brox is going to take the Dragon. Pobelter is like permanently stuck in a side lane like he's playing Yasuo and solo queue. CLG just feeling it, up 2,000 gold, and game's going great. 2 Dragons and counting now, as they do indeed collect the Cloud, and the Ocean Rift will be our selection for today's final game.
It's the classic early game versus outscale champion. Once you fall behind, the outscale becomes too real. Look at what Finn is doing to Revenge, and no one can even come to help him. If the Hecarim were to be there, the teleports would come out, and he would survive long enough to make sure that they fall for him. Good hook out of Smoothie there, very nice.
Yeah, I think he also got a, oh, he didn't get Buster Shotted out. It kind of looked like it with the explosive shot hook combo, but it was indeed Smoothie that hooked himself to safety, as Finn is just harassing Revenge while proxying the wave between the outer and the tier 2. Revenge is like, what is this? This is my job in this matchup. But Finn just feeling so confident, he should be, given the position of this game. Just taking the tower shot. Didn't take any damage, proxying the wave again. And this tower's going to die soon. Like, no one's coming to help Revenge. I think he has come to realize that reality at this point. So CLG can count first brick as well. Going to be that extra goal going on.
I'm loving the confidence that I'm seeing out of the play from players like Finn, Alfari, and Perks here. Just showing up to the LCS and just knowing their limits really well. It's like, okay, I'm so far ahead, I can really be this aggressive. And it looks like BM, because it kind of is, because no one can really touch him. So this is just a refreshing thing. The only added bonus you'd want to see is a little bit of an emote game, something to remind them of that first dive, because the mental game is a huge deal in League of Legends. Being able to tilt your opponent goes a long, long ways, especially once we start getting to these high tense games that actually have playoff implications.
CLG are kind of doing 2 things at once here, as Brox just started the Herald. Pobelter, they're going to roam down, just content to shove the wave in and take the objective. Mid lane know more of what they want here, because Total's already got the wave pushing in. CLG have actually just like pushing every lane and now just deciding which one they want to take. So they're going to break mid with no additional help needed. Now they can go back to the Herald, as Pobelter's had the wave reversed on him at top, so he'll scoop that up. Finn's doing what we expected and taking the tower down in bottom side. And CLG can grab the Herald again at their leisure. Gonna reset here instead, keep pressure in mid. Maybe roam through and get some vision down here to set up for that Dragon that's coming up in 2.5 minutes. It's very clean right now for CLG.
It looks clean, pacey, but I don't believe it. I will not believe it until I see the Nexus fall on the side of CLG, because IMT definitely have enough wombo to punish you if you overstep. It can just fall apart in the blink of an eye. We already saw Game 1 today, how clean it was in the beginning for TSM, and then bam, the game was over. So CLG have to be thinking that they have to remain methodical. Yet on the side of IMT, we got to see them make a play. I still think Pobelter is a viable target. Yeah, it's Merc Treads, but it's a Lucian. You have a Hecarim and a Syndra. If you could actually use 2 or maybe even 3 people to find him, he could be a very easy target to go after if you can catch him before the rest of the team responds. It won't be, though, for a while, since this 3rd Dragon will most likely be the point of contention. I doubt IMT will give this up without a fight.
We'll see, because Total's already got 2 items, so feeling pretty good on the Kalista right now, and looks like Pobelter's working on his 2nd as well, but a bit more expensive for, I think, what's Essence Reaver coming up next. As Finn is just continuing to apply all this pressure. I mean, if CLG are looking to stack up these Dragons, Finn's doing a great job of giving them priority in that side of the map, and now Destiny gonna have to dodge the Swell Seeds, because 1 sleep could mean death, or at least you having to use your ultimate there and trade off for the Lilias. The Smoothie maybe even thinking about a wraparound play. In fact, Pobelter's roaming down to gank now.
But look at where the Hecarim is. Hecarim is farming the red side of CLG. IMT is not doing anything. They're just letting CLG win the game. Are they counting on CLG to throw? Because it feels like that's what's going on.
It's a good hook. Destiny gonna get pressured. Razor the target. There's the Sion ulti. Over the top goes Finn. Fates call in to take down Raze. And now Destiny out to safety, but it's only relative there. There's a great scatter there from Insanity. He's gonna get the ulti kill onto the Nautilus, but Revenge will live off of Lucian's ulti now. Finn still flashing in, looking to take down Insanity. Gets the knock up Turtle. He's gonna get the exhaust down and grab the kill for himself. And CLG, despite the trade kill, gonna make it 3 for 1.
This map just belongs to them, and IMT is not interested in defending it. Yeah, the Syndra teleports, but Hecarim has all summoners, has ultimate, was not involved in this fight at all, and will actually get chunked out and might not even be able to participate very well for this next fight. CLG's having everything in this map. I need to see IMT be more coordinated. This is just unacceptable to let so much happen from CLG without any response. The hook goes in, and Sion can ult from the back because they've been shoving every single lane. Look, only now does the Hecarim teleport. Syndra finally makes it and gets a kill in return, but it's still such a big win for CLG, especially when it comes to just the momentum that they have had this game. They have to feel so confident.
Yeah, I mean, one-way trip there for Insanity on that TP. Does at least get a kill, but gets chased down at the end of it all. CLG up 7,000 gold. Nearing there, as the Reaver is indeed done for POB. Also, they got the Ocean Dragon in the picture-in-picture through that replay as we expected. So now, looking for that Ocean Soul at about 26 minutes here. IMT just struggling to put together their second items here. CLG have just been so good. And this is just not the mid-game we've seen from CLG, right? Like, their plan is to clearly use their sideline pressure and then collapse when appropriate. And they've done it really well. Like, Finn to me has been really the star. Not just getting an edge, you know, as Sion in this matchup, but like, he is constantly a threat in a side lane here, constantly applying pressure, and is also able to convert using his ultimate to roam to the plays that CLG are calling as well. So IMT just at a point where, like, what do you do? Like, picking off a side laner feels just as bad as going for, you know, a more focused fight in, say, mid lane, because it just doesn't feel like either is going to work. Because Finn is going to be there, or Pobelt is going to get away, and you'll lose something else on the map, because CLG are just playing the advantage they have so well. If you honestly told me this was last game and turned the nameplates off, I might have believed you. Because CLG are kind of in Team Liquid's footsteps from their last game, looking to make it just as clean here against IMT.
Yeah, you know, I can share that sentiment too, because the thing that they're doing is they're not making any plays that seem like they could actually throw the game off. They're not really drastic. Here, IMT, though, will have to defend the Baron. Are you going to defend it? Nope.
They can't.
Let him have it.
They can't defend the Baron. Like, CLG have just done so well, setting themselves up. Oh, Finn finally with an oopsie. Ulti's into the wall, can't quite drift around the sides there to take out Revenge, but it doesn't matter. You got the Baron, which is what you wanted. You're going to have 3 minutes of pushing power there to siege up and then fall back to the Ocean Soul at your heart's desire. I mean, like, when you take a Baron like that, like, there are very few free Barons in League of Legends, and that one's the culmination of all the work CLG did to get to that point. But for IMT to not even be able to walk up and try to steal it is a testament to how much of an advantage and how much control CLG have exerted in this game.
They don't have even the champions to even face check, right? They have to put their body in first. The Alistar has to go in. The Hecarim, if he gets forced to use the ultimate to disengage, the fight is already over. So it is really dire from this point onwards. And this looks like the CLG team that every member when they joined had in mind. They're all stoked to play with each other, and finally they're playing here. I mean, IMT's not putting up much of a fight, but this is clean. This is a clean game out of CLG, and it's something that is so new to us in these matchups. I gotta tell you, the practice that they've been putting in, it's clearly paying off, because this is such a different look from where they started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, looking good so far. Trying to close out this game as they assault the tier 2 in top side. It will not be a perfect game, but it may be a shutout here. IMT still trying to get some objectives in their hands. Finn is like dancing and emoting as the rest of his team kills the tower in top lane. But Sion is just so tanky at this point. CLG leaning on their 8,000 gold lead, looking to stack that up even further. As Revenge gets spotted by Kalista Sentinel, and Brock's just busy guiding the Baron Dot Cannon in towards mid lane, because CLG happy to push 2 lanes here. And again, when it's all said and done, they'll just back off to the Soul and take that as well. Ooh, play here instead, though, looking 4 people in mid, but Broxah, very disciplined, flashes away instantly that the play emerges. CLG going to repush the wave here in top. And IMT now gonna have to look for something else. So it's Smoothie now gonna be the one to make the play. It's Turtle going unstoppable, taking out the Syndra. And now Xerxes forced to back away, but the Fate's Call is there. Nautilus straight on top of the Hecarim is gonna be a kill. 3-man sleep, I think, from Broxah. Gonna set up the follow-up there onto Destiny as Raze was forced to rocket jump away. Turtle's gonna look on and out, down the barrel of another pentakill this season. But CLG might just take the Nexus instead.
It was a meme to think that they were still in the playoff race, but if they keep playing like this, CLG could actually make the miracle run.
All right, dive the fountain. You know what to do, CLG. It's worth it. Finn's in there. He's dead. And the next is dead. And Stefan now is going to give it to you, Turtle. Take it. It's yours, mate. Raze is going to go down. Turtle's going to get the pentakill. And the Nexus will explode as the curtain falls and CLG take down IMT.
Oh man, CLG is actually getting good. They're actually turning it around. That was a really clean game out of them. It matched the Team Liquid cleanness that you said earlier. And they're happy. They're actually happy.
That is 5 deserving smiles on the CLG side. I don't know what's happened since I had 3 days of practice, but I guess doubling or tripling that has made a pretty big difference here for CLG as they look to keep their playoff hopes alive here in week number 5. It's going to be tough, right? Like, there's no mincing words about how much CLG have struggled so far this split. It will not be easy to make playoffs from here, but you need to celebrate your wins, and that was a win from CLG. Very impressive looking game.
Yeah, they got first blood too. Actually, they did get first blood too. It was Finn with the dive in the top lane, so CLG still remains with the statistical advantage and the win. Amazing.
All right, well, we are going to be tossing over to a break, but don't go too far away. We're going to close out the day in just a few short minutes.
stop till we on top. Quit, I think not. Coming hot for the #1 spot, yeah. No key, got the game on lock, ayy. Big threes when I take my shot, ayy. On the rise and we ain't gon' drop. On the grind, it's our time, just watch. If you want it, you can get it. Life gets hard, but don't you let it get you down. Go get the crown because our time is now. Ayy, we gotta get it. Gotta get up, gotta go, we gotta get it. Ayy, they won't forget us. Made it happen and we all became legends. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it, gotta get it, gotta get it. We gotta get it. We can't be contained when we leave the game. My name will remain. We don't need the fame. You can keep the chain. We broke free, so things won't be the same. Nah, on the mission, gotta get it, let's work.
Welcome back to the LCS. Smiles all around for CLG fans as we do have Finn here for our Verizon post-game interview. 2 victories back-to-back at this point. A very clean performance today. What are these wins doing to invigorate the CLG squad?
I don't know what they're doing to invigorate us, but they're for sure showing us that our practice is paying off. I think this week we like doubled the amount of games we played, and we all put in the extra hours. We're all just grinding really hard to try to catch up, you know, because I think we're a bit behind in terms of team experience compared to other teams due to our initial issues. But I think right now I'm seeing very good results. I see the fruit of our labor, and yeah, I think we can keep expecting an upwards trajectory for us.
It is crazy to think that adding 1 week means that you have over doubled the practice that you have as a squad. Broxa enlightening us to the 3 days of scrims or something before Pobelter was able to join you. Is there anything specific in the way that you are tackling these practices to make the most out of the limited time that you have?
I think we've not only like increased the amount of practice we have, but we've all like put in a lot of extra hours to review games, not only our own games, but try to get. Because I think in the first games we played, you could tell that individually we were pretty good, but our macro was very lacking, and it left a lot to be desired as a viewer and as a player. So we really tried to catch up to other teams and make sure that we can use these proper rotations, we can set up the lanes we want, and actually snowball the game once we get a lead, because I think we're pretty good at getting leads, but just making a 2K gold lead into 10K is what we need to be better at if we want to make it really far, actually.
100% first blood for CLG at this point too. I mean, speaking of individual performance, you as an individual have been an extremely strong performer for the squad, even in the losses. How would you evaluate that, considering we're talking about top laners so much today, when it comes to your personal looking in on your performance and anything that the team is doing to integrate the talent that you have brought to the table?
Well, I think for me, I'm just always trying to be in a position where I can do well for the team. I've learned over the years that if you always try to overcompensate and do too much and look for hero plays, you'll often look pretty bad. So I just really try to work on my consistency and making sure people can rely on me, even if the game's looking rough. So we can find victories where maybe in another game previously I would have just entered with the team, you know, or like we would just all be so behind that we couldn't win. So yeah.
And you have been extremely reliable. And when you're looking forward for the path for CLG, the thing is you do have to win basically every game to put yourself into playoff position. How are you all handling that pressure?
I think we all just try to make the most out of what we have right now. I think expecting too much from ourselves would only like maybe put us behind in the actual progress we need to make. So we just take every game at a time, every practice day at a time, and just try to work on our fundamentals. And if we're good enough, we're good enough. And if we're not, then we're not. Time will pass and we'll get more time together. So I'm sure we will improve.
1 game at a time. Finn, we very much look forward to watching you and the rest of CLG on that journey.
Thank you.
That does mark our last game of the day. So to break it all down, let's go to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Latigress. The dream is alive for CLG and their entire fan base. A big win here as they needed it in order to keep their postseason within sights. It won't be easy, so we're not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to have to win out, and they're going to need one of the teams currently tied for second to lose out, but it is definitely possible. I think more than anything, Alorum, what speaks to me is what Finn there said in the interview, the fact that they've had much more time to gel together, in fact, doubling their amount of games in just this week, and we're starting to see that practice pay off.
I mean, it's only obvious, like, you finally get your main roster here. The first week is not going to be so great. Of course you're going to be better once you have everyone here and you get more practice in. And I think that if CLG had their original roster here, they'd be more even in the standings. And speaking to Finn, I really like the Sion pick here, and a lot of people will question counterpicking a Renekton with Sion because you don't really get priority in that lane and you don't exactly win it. But Sion does a really great job of slightly losing this lane where he just loses the priority and then scales up to be this unstoppable tank, and it's so strong against physical damage that when you're running Renekton, Hecarim, and Tristana, Sion can build pretty much full armor. He can go his one Sunfire item. He can go Thornmail, Randuin's Frozen Heart. He's got so many options. And the magic damage coming from Syndra won't be enough to actually impact the team fight. So very smart pick. I love it.
Works well with the rest of the team comp too, because with Lucian and Kalista, usually those are the lanes that you're going to want to play around. So it's a good, weak side pick for while you're trying to snowball the Lucian or the Kalista. And then overall, I just like CLG kind of leaning into their strengths. They've been a decent early game team. They make good plays early in the game usually and find kills, and they're first blood king still. And so taking a team comp that is more early game oriented, when you look at the Kalista and Lucian, like overall, I do like that leaning into their play style. Like, go aggro early, be a little bit coin flippy in these games. Like you're a pretty scrappy team. They're good at finding kills, and so I definitely like this identity for them going forward.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that, there was a point where after that top lane kill goes, where the Scion is able to get the first blood, they end up doing these kind of like early to mid game lane assignments where they send the duo lane mid, Scions in bot, and then Pobelter is up atop where they drop Herald. And then you realize that CLG knows that Finn is so far ahead already on the Scion compared to where everyone else is in the game. I think at that point he's already 2 levels up on Revenge. So he just roams mid, they get the second kill, and he's just already, in comparison to the team, at this unkillable meat shield. And the thing I like the most about CLG that we've kind of been critical of them in the past is that they kept pressing the gas, right? Like they kept going forward. They're just like, okay, we have this giant Scion, no one can kill him yet. We're just going to keep accelerating the game, and that's kind of been missing, where they would hesitate and then something bad would happen and the opposing team would get back in because they'd make these mid-game mistakes. I really, really liked how they accelerated the game here behind Finn Scion.
I love that call out because it's something that we've been critical of the teams lower ranked in the standings, is that when they do have those large gold advantages, the amount of time that it might take for them to close it out. But taking a look at those damage numbers, while it's impressive, of course, that Scion is up there rivaling an AD carry in Kalista, Mark, I think that's the other point of the CLG roster that we should recognize here. Turtle has been the picture of consistency even throughout the losses here this year for CLG.
Yeah, he's been super good. I think with the mid lane substitutions going on, the jungle substitutions, he's quietly been, like you said, the most consistent. He still has those moments where he dies, and him and Smoothie sometimes get too aggressive and make mistakes. They're not perfect players, but they are generally a force for good for their team. Especially Smoothie in the most recent weeks, he was struggling a little bit earlier on in the split, but like right now, they're actually a pretty formidable bot lane. And so I'm really excited to see if they can keep building off this, because when you look back at Turtle on FlyQuest towards the end of Summer Split, he was one of the best AD carries in the league back then. He had that small period of time where he was benched for MASH, but after he came back in from that, he was incredible. And I feel like he hasn't really taken a step back. I think CLG as a team has just been struggling to reach a similar level that FlyQuest was on back then.
Yeah, sub 26-minute game is a fantastic victory to get yourself rolling into what is, again, a stretch of must-win games here towards the postseason. Another byproduct of the victory here for CLG in this game is the fact that Cloud9 is now locked into playoffs. Not that that was ever in question, I think, but mathematically it is now the case. And so C9 fans and the C9 squad themselves can breathe a sigh of release, or release, either, both work, as they will see the postseason. But I guess that's got to feel good when you don't even have to win. You watch someone else win, it puts you in.
Yeah, yep. I think CLG would like to feel that way as well. They're one of the teams, we were talking about Golden Guardians earlier, about like, ooh, Golden Guardians, you got to look towards summer and like you're trying to develop it. It was kind of like, maybe it'll happen. CLG, I actually feel legitimately good about. Even if they do miss playoffs, it would have to be an insane run to make it this split. But I think there's been enough good stuff seen out of them that they can feel a lot better about summer and not need to make like huge substitution changes or anything.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason why they got like slowed down early was due to visa issues, right? It wasn't necessarily like, obviously the mid lane was their choice, but they didn't have their starting jungler for a while. And I'm not saying that it was, Griffin's fault that they were losing previously, because I don't think it was. But I think you see a lot more team cohesion with a team that's, just like Finn said, able to practice a lot more together and improve their communication. And whenever we talked about CLG, it was so frustrating because they were doing so many right things in the early game, right? So that's why it's super nice to see this kind of game come out of them.
Practice matters. Practice matters. It's great to have, kind of those initial fundamentals and the ability to build those early advantages, but the practice is really what brings you together as a team and allows you to capitalize on the advantages built. That is our 5th game of the day, though. So after a full day of action, I think it's only natural that we pull up the standings. Pretty cut and dry here. Cloud9, they're in first. We've got 5 other teams all in contention for second place right now. 100 Thieves, Dignitas, Evil Geniuses, Team Liquid, and TSM together there at 8 and 5. Immortals are in 8th. Yeah, that's right. We jump from, or I guess 7th rather.
7th.
We jump from 2nd to 7th with 5 and 8, followed by FlyQuest, CLG, and Golden Guardians. I mean, nothing really surprising there. Obviously, Immortals the closest team on the outside, but you start to do the math. 3 games separation, 5 games to go. While, of course, it's possible, as we explained, it was mathematically possible for CLG. Your window is closing. And so I think that's going to be front of mind for a lot of these younger squads here as they kind of race towards the finish. But let's look ahead at tomorrow's games and what they might have to overcome in order to make the playoff picture. We're starting out with Dignitas taking on Golden Guardians, followed by 100 Thieves facing off against TSM, with most matches throughout our day offering a chance to break that big old tie for second as we close it out with CLG facing FlyQuest. So immediately, 100 Thieves, TSM, Cloud9, Team Liquid, even Evil Geniuses, Immortals, those all feel incredibly impactful to me.
Yeah, this is a super hype schedule. I mean, I'm watching the 100 Thieves versus TSM matchup. I assume, Ryoma's going to stay in for the entire weekend. We haven't heard yet. Technically, it can happen. But, this is a team that was feeling like when you watch their games, even their wins, that they were on the verge of a slide. And now it's a pretty tough weekend. And both teams did lose today, but I'm definitely concerned for 100 Thieves if they're going to keep on that kind of trajectory. I don't want to see them go on this slide, but it does feel like they're almost headed that way.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the C9 TL game is really interesting to me too, because I do think that TL have looked a lot more cohesive in their previous few games. So I want to see them be able to bring it out against the best team in the LCS right now.
A ton of shuffling that could happen over the rest of this weekend and next. But that is going to do it for us here on this LCS Friday. Now, on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more LCS. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and be good to one another. Good night.